I should have known my life was about to change the moment Maya sent that text. Pack a bag. We're going to my uncle's farmhouse this weekend. No excuses, Carter. You've been glued to that laptop for 3 months straight. She wasn't wrong. Ever since the breakup with Derek, as I'd started calling it in therapy, the great devastation, I'd become a hermit in my downtown Chicago apartment. My world had shrunk to the size of my laptop screen, my freelance graphic design work, and the occasional depressing scroll through social media where everyone else seemed to be living their best queer lives. I was 26 and felt ancient. I don't do farms, I texted back, already knowing I'd lose this battle. You don't do anything anymore. That's the problem. It's just a party. Good food, good people, fresh air. Remember fresh air? 3 hours later, I was wedged into Maya's ancient Subaru, watching the Chicago skyline disappear in the rearview mirror. My best friend since college, Maya had perfected the art of forceful care, the kind of friendship that doesn't ask if you're drowning, just throws you a life preserver and starts pulling. Tell me again why we're doing this? I asked, watching cornfields replace concrete. Because my Uncle Gerald throws the best summer parties in 3 counties. And you need to remember that life exists outside your apartment and your ex's Instagram. Ah, I winced. She'd seen me lurking on Derek's profile last week. Not my finest moment. Besides, Maya continued, her eyes twinkling with mischief, there'll be plenty of eligible country boys there. Plaid shirts, strong hands, actual emotional availability, everything your type usually lacks. I don't have a type, sweetheart. Your type is emotionally unavailable creative with commitment issues. We're upgrading you to stable human with a functional heart. I couldn't argue with that. The drive stretched on, highways giving way to winding country roads. Late August painted everything in gold fields of wheat swaying in the breeze. Barns the color of rust and time, small towns with populations that probably fit in my apartment building. It was beautiful in a way that made my chest ache, this vast openness so different from the comfortable anonymity of the city. Your uncle knows I'm gay, right? I asked as we turned onto a gravel road. Carter. Honey, half the people at this party are queer. Uncle Gerald's been with his partner Tom for like 30 years. This isn't some backwards country horror story. It's actually pretty magical. That information shifted something in me. Growing up in suburban Ohio, I'd learned to make myself smaller in certain spaces, to test the waters before showing my true colors. Old habits died hard. The farmhouse appeared around a benda, sprawling white structure with a wraparound porch, surrounded by ancient oak trees and what looked like a small orchard. Cars lined the driveway and spilled onto the grass. Music drifted from somewhere behind the house, along with laughter and the smell of grilling meat. Welcome to paradise, Maya announced. Killing the engine. The party was already in full swing. What struck me first wasn't the number of people, maybe 40 or 50 scattered across the backyard and porch, but the atmosphere. There was an ease here, a warmth that felt deliberately cultivated. Rainbow flags hung alongside American ones. A long table groaned under the weight of potluck dishes. Someone had strung lights through the trees, preparing for when dusk fell. Maya, a tall, silver-haired man with a weathered face and kind eyes, swept my friend into a bear hug. And you must be the famous Carter. I'm Gerald. Welcome to our little slice of chaos. His handshake was firm and genuine. Behind him, a slightly shorter man with glasses and a graying beard smiled warmly. Tom, he introduced himself. Maya's told us all about you. Glad you could escape the city. Thank you for having me, I managed, feeling that familiar flutter of anxiety that came with new social situations. Bars over there. Food's everywhere, and bathrooms are inside if you need them. Make yourself at home. Gerald gestured expansively before being pulled away by another arriving guest. Maya grabbed my hand. Come on, I'll introduce you around. The next hour passed in a blur of names and faces. There was David and Marcus, a couple who ran an organic farm nearby. Priya, a fierce lawyer who'd moved from Boston to open a practice in the nearest town. A group of younger people, probably early 20s, who'd formed some kind of collective art space in a converted barn. Everyone had a story, a reason for being here, a connection to this place that seemed to exist outside the usual Rural-urban divide, I'd imagined. You look overwhelmed, someone said beside me. I turned to find a woman about my age with vibrant, purple hair and a sleeve of tattoos. That obvious? You've got that city person at their first country party energy. I'm Sadie. I run the queer youth center in town. There's a queer youth center? She laughed. This isn't 1950, friend. We're everywhere, even in places that don't show up on those best cities for LGBTQ plus people lists. We just build different kinds of communities. I liked her immediately, Carter. Maya appeared with 2 bottles of local craft beer. Come meet some people your age who aren't complete disasters. As the afternoon melted into evening, I felt myself slowly unwinding. The beer helped. The food, someone's incredible pulled pork, a variety of salads, corn on the cob that tasted like summer itself helped more. But mostly it was the atmosphere. The way people touched each other casually, affectionately. The way laughter came easy. The way nobody seemed to be performing or posing. Just existing. I found myself in a conversation with Marcus about sustainable farming practices. Something I knew nothing about, but found surprisingly fascinating. Then Priya pulled me into a debate about city planning and queer spaces. A younger kid named Jamie showed me photos of the mural they were painting in the collective space. For the first time in months, I wasn't thinking about Derek. Wasn't measuring myself against some imagined standard of where I should be in life. I was just present. Having fun? Maya asked, appearing beside me as the sun started its descent. Actually, yeah. I am told you. Uncle Gerald's parties are legendary. That's when I saw him. He emerged from the house carrying a guitar case, moving with a quiet confidence that immediately drew my attention. Older, maybe late 50s or early 60s, with silver hair that caught the fading sunlight, close-trimmed beard, and a lean, strong build. He wore a simple white linen shirt with the sleeves rolled up, exposing forearms that spoke of physical work, and well-fitted jeans. But it was his face that stopped me. Strong features weathered by time and sun, laugh lines around eyes that seemed to hold entire stories. Something in his expression, a kind of settled contentment mixed with a spark of mischief. Who is that? I heard myself ask. Maya followed my gaze and grinned. That's Henry. He owns the property next door. Comes to all of Uncle Gerald's parties. Usually plays guitar after dinner, is he? Gay, very single. Also, yes, out of your league. Absolutely. I elbowed her, but couldn't look away. Henry settled onto a chair near the fire pit someone had started, the guitar resting comfortably in his lap. He didn't announce himself or make a show of it. Just started playing something soft and melodic that made conversations quiet and heads turn. His voice, when he started singing, was rich and warm, weathered like good whiskey. He sang an old folk song I half recognized, something about love and loss and the passage of time. And while he sang, his eyes scanned the crowd, landing briefly on different faces, connecting. When those eyes found mine, something electric shot through me. It was just a moment, barely 2 seconds, but in that moment, I felt seen in a way I hadn't in a very long time. Not assessed or judged, just acknowledged. Recognized. Then his gaze moved on, but the warmth remained. Oh, you're in trouble, Maya whispered. Shut up. The look on your face right now? You're like a Disney character seeing their prince for the first time. I hate you. You love me. And apparently you've got a thing for silver foxes. Who knew? I didn't have a thing for older men, did I? Derek had been exactly my age. Before him, I dated within a narrow range mid-due. Creative types, usually slightly broken in similar ways to myself. Safe, predictable. This feeling, this sudden, consuming awareness of another person was neither safe nor predictable. Henry finished the song to warm applause. Someone requested another, and he obliged. This time something more upbeat that got a few people dancing. I watched his fingers on the strings, the way he seemed to lose himself in the music, the small smile that played at his lips. I need another drink, I announced. Standing abruptly, running away already. Tactical retreat. The bar table was blessedly empty. I took my time selecting a beer from the ice-filled trough, using the moment to collect myself. This was ridiculous. I was 26, fresh out of a devastating breakup, barely holding my life together. The last thing I needed was some weird crush on a stranger twice my age who probably wouldn't look at me twice. The IPA's better than the lager. If you want my opinion... I jumped, nearly dropping the bottle I'd just grabbed. Henry stood beside me, guitarless, now reaching into the ice. Up close, he was even more striking, those gray-blue eyes, the silver in his beard catching the string lights, the subtle scent of cedar and something earthy I couldn't quite place. "Thanks," I managed, swapping bottles. "You're Maya's friend. Carter, right?" He remembered my name. Why did that make my heart race? "Yeah, and you're Henry." "Guilty." He opened his beer with a practiced twist. No bottle opener needed. "First time out here? That obvious? You've got that slightly overwhelmed look." It's a lot, this crowd. Good people, but a lot. It's nice, actually. Different from what I'm used to. Chicago, right? Maya mentioned you're a designer. The fact that he'd asked about me, that Maya had talked about me, sent another flutter through my chest. Graphic designer, yeah. Freelance. So mostly I just sit in my apartment and slowly forget how to interact with humans. He laughed, a real, genuine laugh that crinkled his eyes. I remember those days. I used to be a photographer, spent years living out of my car, chasing shots. Thought civilization was overrated? Used to be? Still am, I suppose. Just different now. More intentional. Less running. There was a weight to those words, a story I suddenly wanted to know everything about. "Your guitar playing is beautiful," I said, then immediately felt stupid. Could I sound more like a starstruck teenager? But Henry just smiled. "Thank you. Music's my meditation. It keeps me grounded." Someone called his name from across the yard. He raised his beer in acknowledgement, then turned back to me. "I should go talk to Gerald about something, but maybe we'll chat more later." "I'd like that." He held my gaze for a moment longer than necessary, and I saw something flicker their interest. Maybe. Recognition? Then he was gone, moving through the crowd with that same quiet confidence. Maya appeared at my elbow like a summoning spell. "Oh my God, you're blushing." "I am not. You absolutely are. You're the color of a tomato." "What did he say?" "Nothing. We just talked about beer and music and nothing." "Mio. And that's why you look like you just had a religious experience." Before I could respond, Gerald's voice rang out over the party. "All right, folks. Dinner's ready. Come and get it while it's hot." The crowd surged toward the food tables. Maya dragged me along, but my mind was elsewhere, playing every second of that conversation, analyzing every word, every look. What was happening to me? Dinner was a chaotic, joyful affair. I ended up squeezed at a picnic table between Sadie and one of the younger collective members, eating the best food I'd had in months while conversations swirled around me. The sky had deepened to purple, stars beginning to emerge in the absence of city lights. I kept catching glimpses of Henry across the fire pit. He was talking with Gerald and Tom, animated about something, his hands moving as he spoke. Once he caught me looking and smiled, just a small quirk of his lips before returning to his conversation. "You should just go talk to him," Sadie said quietly. "What?" "Henry, you've been stealing glances all night." "He's a good man. One of the best, actually. I'm not. I just met him." Sometimes that's all it takes. She stood, gathering her plate. "Life's short, Carter. An attraction like that, it's rare. Don't waste it overthinking." She left me sitting there, her words echoing in my head. The party continued as darkness fell completely. The string lights created a magical canopy of warmth. Someone started a playlist of old soul music. Couples began slow dancing near the fire, both gay and straight, old and young. Moving together in the flickering light, it was beautiful, achingly so, and it made me feel desperately lonely. I slipped away from the crowd, needing a moment. The farmhouse loomed behind me, most of its windows dark except for a soft glow from what must be the kitchen. I climbed the porch steps, settling into a rocking chair in the shadows, just breathing. This was what I'd been missing in the city's space to feel without performing those feelings for an audience. Derek and I had been so caught up in being the perfect queer couple, curating our life for social media, hitting the right bars, knowing the right people. When had we stopped actually connecting? Mind if I join you? My heart lurched. Henry stood at the top of the porch steps, 2 bottles of water in his hands. Please, I managed. He settled into the rocking chair beside mine, offering me one of the bottles. For a moment, we just sat there, the sounds of the party drifting over us, rocking in companionable silence. Needed a break? He asked finally. Yeah, it's wonderful. But I'm not used to this many people anymore. I understand. I love Gerald's parties, but they can be intense. He paused. Can I ask you something? Sure. What brought you out here? Maya said you've been going through a hard time. The directness caught me off guard, but something about the darkness. The privacy of this moment made honesty feel possible. Bad breakup. Really bad. The kind that makes you question everything about yourself and your choices and whether you even know how to love someone properly. Henry nodded slowly. Those are the worst kind. The ones that break you open? Is it that obvious I'm broken? Not broken. Breaking open. There's a difference. Took a sip of water. Broken things need fixing. Things breaking open are just making room for new growth. The poetry of that statement hit me square in the chest. Did you read that in a book somewhere, or are you just naturally wise? I tried to keep my tone light. He laughed. Mostly just old. Experience has a way of teaching you things, usually the hard way. How old, if you don't mind me asking? 58. Too old to be interesting to someone your age, probably. There was something vulnerable in how he said it, a hesitation that surprised me. I'm 26, I offered, and I think you're very interesting. The words hung between us, charged with meaning I hadn't quite intended but didn't want to take back. Henry turned to look at me fully, his face half-shadowed. Carter, I know. It's weird. Age difference? Just met? I'm a mess. You're probably not interested. I'm not even sure what I'm saying. I'm saying you're interesting too, Henry said quietly. More than you probably realize. And that scares me a little. My breath caught. Why? Because I'm 58, and I should know better than to feel this way about someone I met 3 hours ago. He ran a hand through his silver hair. But here we are. The honesty was stunning. No games, no pretense. Just truth laid bare. What do we do with that? I asked. I don't know. He stood. And for a terrible moment, I thought he was leaving. But instead, he extended his hand. Want to see something? I took his hand, warm, calloused. Saladin let him pull me up. Henry led me around the side of the farmhouse, to a set of external stairs I hadn't noticed before. They led to a second-floor door, separate from the main house. Gerald lets me use this space as a studio, Henry explained, producing a key. I hope this isn't too forward, but I wanted to show you something away from the crowd. The door opened into a large, open space that took my breath away. One wall was entirely windows, overlooking the orchards and fields beyond. The room was filled with photography equipment, but also comfortable furniture, worn leather couch, bookshelves, overflowing with volumes, a small kitchenette in one corner. But it was the photographs that stopped me cold. They covered the walls, pinned and framed in no particular order. Black and white images of stunning composition, weathered hands holding seeds, an old barn collapsing into itself, a series of portraits that captured something essential about each subject. These weren't just good photographs. They were art. Henry, these are incredible, I breathed, moving closer to examine a particularly striking image of 2 men. Clearly a couple, sitting on a porch step, their bodies angled toward each other with decades of familiarity. That's Gerald and Tom, Henry said, coming to stand beside me. Taken about 5 years ago. They just found out Tom's cancer was in remission. I could see it now, the relief, the love, the weight of almost loss still visible in their expressions. You can see everything they're feeling, I said. That's the goal. To capture truth. He moved to another wall, gesturing to a series of landscapes. These are from my traveling years. Before I settled here, what made you settle? He was quiet for a moment, looking out the dark windows. Exhaustion, honestly. I spent 20 years chasing the perfect shot, living out of my car or cheap motels, never staying anywhere long enough to build anything real. I was running from something I didn't want to name. What were you running from? Myself, mostly. My sexuality, my past, the idea that I might want things I'd been taught were shameful. He turned back to me. I came out late, Carter. I was 35, married to a woman I cared about, but couldn't love the way she deserved. The divorce nearly destroyed us both. The vulnerability in his admission made me want to reach for him. When I finally accepted who I was, I thought constant movement would make up for lost time. See everything, experience everything, never commit to anything because I'd already wasted so much time. He smiled sadly. But running gets exhausting. About 10 years ago, I ended up here doing a photo series on rural queer communities. Met Gerald and Tom, and something just clicked. They offered me this space. I intended to stay a month. That was a decade ago. You found home, I said. I found myself. The home came with it. I understood that more than he knew. Wasn't that what I was searching for? Not just a place, but a version of myself I could actually live with? Can I show you something? Henry moved to a large portfolio case, pulling out a series of prints. I've been working on a new project. You're actually the first person I've shown these to. The photographs were different from his usual work, more intimate, more vulnerable. They showed queer life in rural spaces, to women dancing in a barn. A trans man working on a tractor, a group of young people laughing around a bonfire, an older couple holding hands at a farmer's market. These are beautiful, I said, shuffling through them carefully. They tell a different story than people expect. It's exactly it. The narrative around queer life is so often urban-centric. But we're everywhere, building lives and communities in all kinds of places. I want to document that. You should publish these. Seriously, Henry. This is important work. He looked at me with such warmth that I felt my cheeks heat. Thank you. That means a lot, especially coming from someone with your eye for design. You looked at my work? Maya may have shown me your Instagram while I was helping Gerald set up earlier. I hope that's not creepy, I laughed. Only if it's creepy that I might have done the same thing after we talked at the bar. You looked me up? I tried. You're surprisingly hard to find online. Tensional, mostly. I got tired of the performance of social media. Now, I just exist in the real world. We drifted to the couch, sitting close enough that I could feel the warmth radiating from him. Outside, the party continued, but up here, it felt like we'd entered a different world entirely. Can I ask you something? I said, anything. Why did you invite me up here? Henry was quiet for a long moment, and I watched emotions play across his face. Uncertainty, desire, caution, hope. Honestly. Because from the moment I saw you, I haven't been able to think about much else. And that terrifies me. Why terrifying? Because you're 26 and just getting out of a relationship and figuring out who you are? Because I'm 58 and should probably know better than to feel this attracted to someone I just met? Because this, he gestured between us, makes no logical sense, but I prompted, moving slightly closer. But logic doesn't seem to matter much right now. His eyes met mine, and I saw everything there desire, yes, but also kindness, uncertainty, hope. Tell me I'm not imagining this connection. You're not imagining it, I whispered. The space between us had shrunk to almost nothing. I could see the silver threading through his beard, the slight worry lines on his forehead, the way his pupils had dilated in the dim light. Carter, I need you to understand something. His voice was rough. I'm not looking for a fling or some kind of age gap fantasy. If this goes anywhere, I need it to be real. I want real too, I said. I'm tired of pretending and performing. I want something true. Even with someone old enough to be your father. You're not my father. You're Henry, and I don't care about the age difference. You might, eventually. Or I might not. I reached for his hand, lacing our fingers together. Can we just see what this is? Without overthinking it, Henry's thumb traced circles on the back of my hand, a gesture so simple yet so intimate it made my breath catch. When's the last time you let yourself just feel something without analyzing it to death? he asked softly. I don't remember, I admitted. With Derek, everything was always so complicated. We were always performing our relationship, making sure it looked right from the outside. I'm not sure we ever just were. That sounds exhausting. It was... Henry stood, pulling me gently to my feet. Come here. I want to show you something. He led me to the windows. Outside, the party was winding down. People were gathering around the fire pit, someone playing guitar again. The string lights swayed gently in the night breeze. Look at that, Henry said, standing behind me, close enough that I could feel his presence like warmth against my back. All those people, living their lives, loving who they love, building something real in a world that often tells them they shouldn't exist. It's beautiful. It is. And you know what I learned, Carter? Life is too short to waste it on things that aren't real. On relationships that drain you instead of filling you up. On hiding who you are to make other people comfortable. I turned to face him, and suddenly we were inches apart, his hands coming to rest gently on my waist. I don't want to hide, I said. Not anymore. Then don't. The kiss, when it came, was soft. Gentle. A question asked and answered. His lips were warm against mine, his beard slightly rough but not unpleasant. He tasted like beer and something sweet, and the kiss held a tenderness that made my chest ache. When we pulled apart, he rested his forehead against mine. Okay? He asked softly. More than okay. I kissed him again, this time deeper, my hands finding their way to his hair. He responded in kind, one hand sliding up to cup the back of my neck, the other pulling me closer. There was desire there, God. Was there desire but also something else? Reverence, maybe. Like this moment mattered, like we both knew we were standing at the edge of something significant when we finally broke apart. Both slightly breathless. Henry led me to the couch. We sat close, my head finding its way to his shoulder as if it belonged there. This is crazy, I said. Completely. I live in Chicago. You live here? I know. We just met. I'm aware. And yet, he agreed, pressing a kiss to the top of my head. We sat in comfortable silence, his fingers playing absently with mine. Outside, I could hear people starting to say their goodbyes. Car doors closing, engines starting. I should probably get back to Maya, I said reluctantly. She'll think I fell in a well or something. Probably. But neither of us moved. Finally, Henry stood, pulling me up with him. Can I see you tomorrow? Take you to breakfast? Show you around the area? I'd really like that. At the door, he kissed me again slower this time, sweeter, full of promise. Get some rest, he said. I'll pick you up at 9? I'll be ready. I floated down the stairs across the yard, my lips still tingling. Maya was helping Gerald clean up, but when she saw my face, she grinned knowingly. Don't, I warned. I didn't say anything. You're thinking it very loudly. Only that you look happier than I've seen you in months. She hugged me. He's a good man, Carter. One of the best. I really like him, Maya. Is that crazy? Honey, the best things in life usually are. Later, lying in the guest room, Maya and I were sharing, staring at the ceiling while she snored softly in the other bed. I replayed every moment. The conversation, the studio, the kiss. The way Henry looked at me like I was something precious. The way being near him felt like coming home to a place I'd never been. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Sleep well, Carter. Tomorrow can't come soon enough. I saved his contact with a smile and texted back, already counting down the hours. As I drifted off to sleep, I realized something fundamental had shifted. For the first time since Derek, I felt hopeful. Not just about Henry, though there was that, but about myself. About the possibility that I could be happy, could build something real, could open myself up to love without losing myself in the process. Tomorrow would come with its own complications and questions. But tonight, I let myself just feel the warmth of possibility. I woke to sunlight streaming through unfamiliar windows and the smell of coffee. For a moment, I was disoriented. Then everything from last night came flooding back. Henry, the kiss. The connection that felt both sudden and somehow inevitable. Maya was already up, sitting cross-legged on her bed with a mug of coffee and a knowing smirk. Good morning, sunshine. Sleep well? What time is it? I grabbed my phone. 8:17 a.m. And there was already a text from Henry. Morning. Coffee's on me. Can't wait to see you. Address 2847 Meadow Lane. See you at 9. You're grinning at your phone like a teenager, Maya observed. It's adorable and slightly nauseating. I know. He texted me at 7 asking for your number and to make sure you were really okay with seeing him again. The man is smitten and considerate. Marry him. I threw a pillow at her. 45 minutes later, I was standing in front of Gerald's bathroom mirror, trying to look casually attractive while my stomach performed Olympic-level gymnastics. I'd changed outfits 3 times, finally settling on fitted jeans and a soft blue button-down that Maya insisted made my eyes pop. You look great, Maya said, appearing in the doorway. Now go. Be happy. Text me if you need an escape plan, though I don't think you will. The address Henry had sent led me down a winding country road to a charming farmhouse, painted pale yellow. With a wraparound porch and a garden that looked like something from a magazine, his truck, an older Ford that had been lovingly maintained, sat in the driveway. Before I could knock, the door opened. Henry stood there in a soft gray Henleyan jeans, his hair slightly damp, like he'd just showered, and the smile that lit up his face when he saw me could have powered the whole county. Hi, he said. Hi. We stood there like idiots for a moment, grinning at each other. Come in, he finally said. I hope you're hungry. The inside of his home was exactly what I'd expected Warm lived in, full of character. Books everywhere, photographs on the walls, comfortable furniture that invited you to stay a while. The kitchen smelled incredible fresh coffee, something baking. I made blueberry scones, Henry said, sounding almost shy. And there's coffee, or tea if you prefer, and I have eggs and bacon if you want something more substantial. You bake? The image of this strong, weathered man making scones was doing dangerous things to my heart. Stress baking is my therapy. Between you and the fact that I barely slept last night, I've made scones, banana bread, and a quiche. You barely slept? He poured 2 cups of coffee, handed me one. Couldn't stop thinking. About you. This. Whether I'm crazy for pursuing something that probably makes no practical sense. I set down my coffee and moved closer. And what conclusion did you reach? That I don't care if it makes sense. He cupped my face gently, thumb brushing my cheekbone. That I want to know everything about you. That I haven't felt this alive in years. I kissed him, morning breath and all, and felt him smile against my lips. Scones first, he murmured. Then I want to take you somewhere. Breakfast was easy in a way I hadn't experienced with someone new before. We talked about everything and nothing, my design work, his photography, our families, our coming out stories. Henry's ex-wife, Susan, was apparently still a friend. They'd worked through the pain to find genuine care for each other. She's remarried now to a wonderful man, Henry said. We have dinner sometimes when I visit the city. It took years to get there, but I'm grateful we did. That's rare, I said. Most queer people who come out late seem to lose those relationships entirely. I know. I was lucky. She's a remarkable person who understood that our marriage ending wasn't about her not being enough. It was about me finally being honest about who I am, the maturity of it. The emotional intelligence was so different from what I was used to. Derek and I had operated like teenagers, dramatic all or nothing. Every disagreement a referendum on our entire relationship. Tell me about your ex, Henry said gently. If you want to, I did want to lance that wound and let it finally drain. Derek was intense, creative, brilliant, completely unreliable. We were together 2 years, and I spent most of it anxious about whether he'd show up, follow through, choose me over whatever new shiny thing caught his attention. I traced the rim of my coffee cup, but I stayed because I thought that's what love was. Constant yearning, constant proving yourself worthy. That's not love, Henry said quietly. That's suffering. I know that now. Or I'm starting to. What made you finally leave? I didn't. He did. Met someone else. Someone more aligned with his vision, whatever that means. told me via text while I was at my mom's funeral. Henry's expression darkened. Carter. Yeah, it was brutal. Not just the breakup, but the timing. I was already shattered from losing Mom, then losing him too, or realizing I never really had him. It broke something in me. Henry reached across the table, taking my hand. I'm so sorry. About your mom, and about him being cruel when you needed kindness most. The tears came unexpectedly, and I tried to wipe them away, embarrassed. No. Henry moved his chair closer, pulling me into his arms. You're allowed to feel this. You're allowed to still be hurt. I let myself cry against his shoulder while he held me, one hand stroking my back, whispering soft reassurances. It should have been mortifying, falling apart during what was supposed to be a romantic breakfast. But instead, it felt safe. When I finally pulled back, Henry handed me a napkin with a soft smile. Sorry, I managed. This is not how I planned this morning going. Stop apologizing for having feelings. It's one of the things I like about you. You feel deeply. Don't ever be sorry for that. After breakfast, Henry drove us to a place he called the Orchard, a sprawling apple grove, on the edge of his property that he'd been slowly restoring over the past 5 years. Most of these trees were here when I bought the place, he explained as we walked between rows of gnarled apple trees heavy with late summer fruit, but they'd been neglected. I've been learning as I go, pruning, grafting, bringing them back to health. It's beautiful here, I said, and it was. The dappled sunlight through the leaves, the smell of earth and apples, the profound quiet broken only by birdsong. This is where I come when I need to think, Henry said, or when I need to remember why I stopped running. We found a spot beneath one of the older trees, its trunk thick and solid. Henry spread out a blanket he'd brought from the truck, and we settled together, my back against his chest, his arms around me. Can I ask you something? I said, anything. What do you want from this? From us. Henry was quiet for a moment, his chin resting on top of my head. Honestly, I don't know yet. I know I want to spend time with you, get to know you, see where this goes without forcing it into some predetermined shape. Even though I live in Chicago and you live here, distance is just logistics. If this is real, we'll figure it out. And the age thing? Carter, I'm not going to let concerns me. Not because I think there's anything wrong with it, but because I worry about what you might miss out on. Experiences people your age should have. Growth that happens in your 20s. Turned in his arms to face him. I've had those experiences. I've done the messy hookups, the dramatic relationships, the quarter-life crisis. I don't feel like I'm missing anything. I feel like I'm finally finding something real. And in 5 years, when you're 31 and I'm 63, then you'll be a very attractive 63-year-old. I'll still want to hear your stories and see your photographs and wake up next to you. The words came out before I could overthink them. I know it's fast. I know we just met. But Henry, I haven't felt this certain about anything in years. He kissed me deeply, laying me back against the blanket, his weight settling over me in a way that felt both protective and electric. The kiss grew heated, hands starting to wander, and I felt desire surge through me. Carter, Henry breathed against my neck. I want you. God, I want you. But not here. Not fast. Not until you're absolutely sure. I am sure. You're also still healing. And I need you to trust that I'm not going anywhere. We have time. Should have been frustrating. But instead I felt cherished. Seen. Respected in a way Derek never had respected me. Okay, I whispered. But for the record, you're making it very hard to be patient. He laughed, rolling to his side and pulling me against him. Believe me, the feeling is mutual. We lay there for what might have been hours, talking and kissing and watching clouds drift across the blue sky. Henry told me about his photography projects, his dreams of publishing a book. I told him about my design work, my secret desire to do something more meaningful than corporate branding. Why don't you? He asked. Fear, mostly. Financial insecurity. The usual excuses. What if you didn't have to choose? What if you could do both the work that pays the bills and the work that feeds your soul? Is that what you do? I take commercial jobs, sometimes weddings, events, portraits. It pays for the passion projects. Lets me do the work that matters without starving. The simplicity of it, the practical wisdom, was revelatory. Why had I never considered that balance? My phone buzzed with a text from Maya. Uncle Gerald's doing a farewell brunch tomorrow before people head out. You coming? Or should I tell them you've run away to join the countryside gay cult? I showed it to Henry, who laughed. The countryside gay cult. I like that. We should get t-shirts. I should probably go, I said reluctantly. Maya will send a search party. Or... Henry propped himself up on one elbow, looking down at me with nervous hope. You could stay another day. Or two. Spend more time here. With me, I have work. Can you do it remotely? I mean, yes, but then stay. Please. I know it's fast, but I don't want this weekend to end. Not yet. The vulnerability in his eyes, the quiet plea undid me.
I said,
I'll stay. I ended up staying for more days. Maya left Sunday evening after extracting promises that I'd text her daily and call if I needed anything. Gerald and Tom had smiled knowingly, telling me their door was always open. And then it was just me and Henry, figuring out what this thing between us was. Those 4 days felt like stepping into a different life. Henry worked in his studio while I set up my laptop at his kitchen table. We'd meet for lunch, talking about our mornings. He taught me to identify different apple varieties in the orchard. I showed him new design techniques on Photoshop. We cooked together, walked together, talked until late into the night, and yes, we made love finally on the third night. After a dinner of homemade pasta and too much wine, when the tension between us had built to something unsustainable. It was tender and intense and everything I'd hoped for, and afterward Henry held me like I was precious. I'm falling for you, he whispered in the darkness. Probably too fast, definitely too hard, but there it is. Good, I whispered back, because I'm already there. On my last night before returning to Chicago, we sat on his porch, watching the sunset paint the sky in shades of orange and pink. How do we make this work? I asked the question that had been hovering at the edges of all our conversations. Honestly, intentionally, with a lot of phone calls and visits. Henry pulled me closer. I know long distance is hard, but I think we're worth the effort. I could move here, I said suddenly. The thought had been growing in me all week. I mean, not immediately, but eventually. My work is remote anyway. What's keeping me in Chicago besides habit? Henry turned to look at me, eyes searching. I won't ask you to give up your life for me. You're not asking? I'm offering. Chicago was never really mine anyway. It was where Derek wanted to be, and I just followed. But here... I gestured at the sunset, the orchard, the life Henry had built. Here feels like possibility. We've known each other a week, I know, and if you think it's too fast or too crazy, I'll stay in Chicago and we'll figure out the distance thing. But Henry, I haven't felt this alive in years. Maybe ever. I don't want to lose that because it doesn't fit some timeline of how relationships are supposed to progress. He kissed me, soft and deep. Move here, he said against my lips. Not tomorrow, but when you're ready. We'll take it slow, do it right. Get you set up with your own space at first. Let you build a life here that's yours, not just an extension of mine. Yeah, because I'm falling in love with you, Carter, and I want to see where this goes. I love you too, I said, and felt the truth of it settle into my bones. The moving truck pulled up to my new apartment, a small converted barn on the edge of Henry's property that he'd helped me fix up. My own space, but close enough that we could be together whenever we wanted. Maya emerged from her car, shaking her head with a grin. I can't believe you actually did it. Believe it, I said, watching Henry direct the movers with the larger furniture. Are you happy? She asked seriously. I looked at Henry's silver hair gleaming in the autumn sun. Wearing a flannel shirt and work boots, smiling at something one of the movers said. Then at the orchard beyond, the studio where I'd set up my design space. The community I'd been building here over the past months of visits, happier than I've ever been, I said truthfully. That night, After the movers left and Maya headed to Gerald's for the night, Henry and I christened my new place with takeout Chinese food and cheap wine. Sitting on the floor because I hadn't assembled my furniture yet? No regrets? He asked, not even one. Even though you're eating lo mein on a floor in the middle of nowhere with a man old enough to be your father. I set down my food and straddled his lap, framing his face with my hands. I'm eating lo mein in my new home with the man I love, who sees me and values me and makes me want to be better. Age is just a number, Henry. What we have, this is real. It really is, he said wonderingly, like he still couldn't quite believe it. We made love there on the floor, surrounded by boxes and possibility, and afterward, lying in his arms. I felt something I'd been searching for my whole life without knowing it. Peace, joy, home. Thank you, I whispered. For what? For taking me upstairs that night? For showing me your world? For giving me a chance to build a life I actually want to live? Henry kissed my forehead. Thank you for being brave enough to take it. And inside, wrapped in the arms of the man I loved, I knew I'd found exactly where I belonged. Not in a place, but in the courage to choose love over fear, possibility over safety, truth over performance. The farmhouse party had been the beginning, but this life we were building together. One day at a time, this was the real story, and it was just getting started. The gallery opening was packed, standing room only, in the small-town arts center that Priya had helped establish. Henry's photographs lined the walls, the culmination of his rural queer life project. And beside each image was a small placard with my design work, bringing his vision to life. We'd done this together, his art, my design, our shared belief that stories like ours deserve to be told. There are publishers here, Henry whispered in my ear, barely containing his excitement. 3 of them, and a representative from the Smithsonian. Your work deserves it, I said, squeezing his hand. Gerald and Tom beamed from across the room. Maya stood with Sadie and some of the other queer community members who'd become my friends. This life I'd built here was more than I'd ever imagined that night at the farmhouse party. I have something for you, Henry said, pulling me toward a photograph I hadn't seen before. It was a staken by Gerald without our knowledge, sitting in the orchard on that first day. My back against Henry's chest, his arms around me, both of us looking at something off camera with expressions of complete peace. The placard read, Home Carter and Henry. Finding each other, when did he take this? I asked, tears blurring my vision. That first morning. He said he knew then that we were going to be something special. I turned into Henry's arms, not caring who was watching. I love you. I love this life. I love that I was brave enough to take a chance on something that made no logical sense. Thank you for taking me upstairs that night. I laughed through my tears. You took me upstairs, did I? I remember you following me pretty willingly. The best decision I ever made. Around us, the gallery hummed with appreciation for the art, the community, the love these photographs celebrated. But for me, the most beautiful thing in the room was the man in my arms, silver-haired. Wise, kind, and wholly mine. Love doesn't always arrive the way we expect it. Sometimes it appears at a farmhouse party in the form of an older man with a guitar and eyes full of stories. Sometimes it asks us to be brave, to take risks, to choose possibility over comfort, and sometimes, if we're very lucky, it leads us exactly where we were always meant to be. Home.